Thank you so much for joining us. You're still watching Arise Africa. Now, the Anambra State government in southeast Nigeria has adopted December the 28th, 2018 as the set date by major traditional rulers in the southeast to abolish the controversial Osu Caste system in the region. The Osu Caste system is a discriminatory culture based on birth, which excludes such persons from associating freely with the freeborn. The system has stigmatized sections of the communities in the southeast,
depriving them to access to social interaction and marriages with the belief that any freeborn that marries an Osu defiles the family. In the studio with us to discuss discriminatory culture and the processes which it's been taken to abolish the system is Nollywood actor and activist Joseph Okechukwu.
Good morning, Joseph. Now, very quickly, because we do have, this is an international news channel. Arise News is not just here in Nigeria, Africa. It's international. So we do have guests and viewers who don't necessarily understand. What is Osu? Because I've heard a lot about this Osu Caste system. What exactly is Osu?
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
There's been a whole lot of stories going around about Osu Caste system. It depends on who you're asking. But, you know, I've been on this journey to abolish this thing for quite some time. And, you know, in the process, I've been doing a lot of researches and all of that. But I can tell you one thing that nobody has been able to argue with, okay? First of all, one of the most prominent of all the descriptions I've got about or definitions for Osu is this. It's something that stemmed from slavery. All right, you remember back in the days, during the days of transatlantic slavery,
yes,
people would just look at their fellow human beings, people who are like you, and then capture them, okay, mark them for sale, and then sell them over to the slave masters.
Yes.
And so something was happening at that time. It became a criminal enterprise. It was a very lucrative venture, right? And then what happened was that people started saying, you know what, some guys in the town were very rich, wealthy, okay? And so the best way to take away all their wealth and everything they had was to just mark them for sale, grab them and sell them over to the slave masters.
Us, that happened generations ago. So how did it affect people living in these times?
Yeah, well, the thing is, that nonsense happened then. And after that happened, let me tell you how that started.
And inadvertently, are you saying that Osu people were the wealthiest people and that's why they were attacked?
Most of them were very wealthy.
Yeah. So
they were targeted. Yes, jealousy and, just criminal elements. And so when somebody got a tip-off that a guy who is wealthy is about to be captured and sold into slavery, they would go to him and say, hey, we just heard that you're going to be picked up at 12 a.m. tonight, or you're going to be picked up by 1 a.m. tonight. So when that happened, those guys would say, you know what, since they're coming from me, the only place that I could go for refuge, the only place that the people who were into this enterprise dreaded was the alosis, the shrines, the deities.
Yes.
So these guys who had gotten tip-off that they were going to be picked up would run to the alosi to go and hide.
Yes.
So the moment they go to the alosi, people will now look at them and say, oh, they're now properties of the gods. Okay. So that's how they become the untouchables.
Tell us, how did something that happened decades ago, a very, very long time ago,
yes,
affect the people in this society now, so much so we're talking about abolition?
That is why we are here to fight. The reason is this. All those people who ran to the alosi to go and get protection, okay? Yes. And the other ones who were taken to go and sacrifice to the gods, I'll come to that story later. All those people started having children, okay? After they started having children, people began to follow that bloodline. Trace their bloodline. As if this bloodline is the bloodline of the people that were dedicated to the Alosis. But the funny thing is that these guys did not go to give themselves to the Alosis. They were running there for refuge, for protection. And that was the closest, the most easily accessible refuge they had at that time.
So what kind of discrimination did they face?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. The discrimination, the most prominent of them all is this. They cannot get married with an Amadi person. They can't intermarry with the Amadis. The Amadis are the freeborns. Okay. The freeborns are the people who supposedly were not exactly who's not Osu.
Because to be honest, I mean, when I first moved here, I had a friend actually who was from Osu. Yes. And she did have a young man in question that she was betrothed to. But apparently, as soon as the family realized where she was from, done everything like I'm being so serious. These are two adults who are in love, ready to start a life, and he was told that she is from Osu and it's not allowed.
And it's not going to happen.
I literally had to ask. So that brings me to my next question,
Yes,
Joseph.
okay.
Now, of course, there are reports that traditional rulers in Igbo land have decided to finally abolish the Osu caste system. Now, can you tell our viewers, and especially us, what led to this and the highlights of December 28th?
Especially, as you say, you've been on this journey for a while.
You said you've been on this journey for a while. We would really like to understand
the process and the difficulties.
Process. And how likely is it, do you think, that the traditional rulers will abolish this?
Well, this is a process that we have started, okay? It's not going to happen overnight. But here's what I want to let you know about what is happening on the December 28th. You see, this thing is something that emanates from gross criminality. It's a lot of, it's fraudulent, okay? And there are people who have been benefiting from this evil enterprise. And the reason they have succeeded so far is that they've always linked it with spirituality. Yes. They've always linked it with diabolism and all sorts of stuff. So what we found out is that the best way to abolish Osu in our land is to approach it spiritually. So we are gathering spiritual heads, traditional rulers. What is going to happen on the 28th is a spiritual abolition of Osu, and then an atonement that is going to be made, a cleansing of the land. Because we believe, like everybody I've spoken to across board believes that, look, this thing has spoiled our land. Because the motivation I had by going to do this was that I found out how terribly things have been going in our land. Everything about the eastern part of Nigeria is always backward. And I got tired of seeing all those deplorable state of things in that place. That was how I got into it. So what we're doing on the 28th is that we're going to have all these traditional rulers. We're going to have religious leaders who are going to come there, the bishops, the Anglican, the Catholic, the Methodist, all of them are going to be there. And we are going to make, and then there's something.
Joseph, I'm so sorry. We are running out of time, so I do have a last question that I did want to ask you, because you have spoken so well and so eloquently.
Yes.
Lastly, how does this apply in the lives of the people right now, today, and very quickly as well, because we really don't have that much time? I would like you to tell our viewers what they can do to get involved in this campaign, because obviously it's a campaign that
it is.
So please, how does this apply to the lives of the people, and how can people get involved in the campaign?
Okay, so how it applies is that all these marriages that are suspended, like the story you just told, there's so many of them. I had a young lady who said that 6 suitors came to marry her in 1 year, 6 of them. And her own traditional rulers was the one telling the people that, look, that girl is an Osu, don't marry her. And she was so heartbroken, she told me she was going to commit suicide. I have ton of stories, too many of them. So what is going to happen is that after December the 28th event, a lot of these marriages are going to begin to take place, because from the highest authorities, we are going to begin to give them the power of attorney to go and get married. In fact, some marriages will take place on that day that have been suspended for so long. So how people can get involved is this. I don't know what kind of involvement. If you want to get involved, go to my Facebook page. My name is Joseph Okechukwu on Facebook. And then if you want to partner with us or whatever, just get in touch with me. We have a GoFundMe account as well, which is called No Longer a Slave. So whatever people can do, that's fine.
Well done, Joseph Okechukwu, and bringing positivity to the Nigerian scene. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right.